Welcome back to Questing Beast. Today we're going to take a look at this review copy of Strange Stars that I was sent. Strange Stars is a print-on-demand science fiction supplement for role-playing games. One unique feature about it is that it is completely system neutral. It contains no stats or references to any role-playing games of any kind. In other words, you can use this for whatever system that you like. You can also just read it for enjoyment, since it is a great example of science fiction world building. It's written by Trey Causey. Here's what our back looks like. And as you can see from just looking at the front, it has a great sense of style, a great sense of design, and some beautiful full color artwork. And in contrast to what you normally see with these types of products, the entire interior is done with full color artwork. So let's take a look at what we have. It starts off with a historical overview of the time span that this takes place over. And it's a science fiction universe with a retro feel, I would say, but also with a sense of some modern aesthetics and modern themes like transhumanism that you typically don't see in older science fiction. We have our categories of sophonts, the intelligent beings found in the galaxy, biologics, Morivex, and infosophonts. And the whole book is littered with these little tidbits, these little bits of information that make the world feel alive. It isn't incredibly detailed, I would say, but instead it provides these little snippets, these little pieces of information that tempt you to grow and build upon them and to create your own setting. So starships and travel, how warp drives work. It's a system-to-system hyperspace link. You have to travel through these gates to get from one place to another, while travel within a system is very slow. This allows for areas of the galaxy that are very cut off from others and where there's different amounts of information, different levels of technology. You can see the style here reminiscent of a lot of 80s or 70s science fiction, the ridiculous collar and the flared pants and the high-heeled boots. A lot of the book is taken up with descriptions of the different sectors. So we have the Outer Rim with a couple of the major planets, the Alliance. There's a great number of different alien species that are detailed. The Instrumentality, which is a theocratic organization. One great thing about this is that each of the sectors really has a distinct feel, and it feels like, it's almost like its own genre. So if you're traveling across this setting, going from sector to sector, you're going to have a very different feeling game depending on where you are, which is great because it allows the players to really choose what type of game they want to play. The Coreward Reach. There's a lot of very creative ideas for planets here. We have Gaia, the mystery copy of old Earth. We have Rune, which is essentially the D&D planet, where everything there are sorcerers and dragons. And if you're having a D&D game, you could pull characters right out of this into a larger science fiction setting. The Vulcan Empire reminds me a little bit of the Dune universe, that you have this guy on this floating stand. He sort of hovers about giving people orders. We have these humanoid computers that they use instead of mechanical computers. In a cantina in the Zuran Expanse, so we have 8 NPCs that you might run into. Nomads, the Tsa Zoku, which is the Starfolk. And like I said before, there's these little pieces of box text that inspire you to expand upon what this book is giving you. It doesn't try and lay everything out in extreme detail so you feel constrained by it. Instead, it assumes that you are going to want to build upon what it gives you. The different types of pirates. Criminals. For example, this guy, Tulku, or Tulko, he got off his homeworld by replacing the man whose skull he crushed in a pirate crew, and he's never looked back. He pretends a primitive lack of understanding for laws and social niceties, but in reality, he just enjoys physical confrontation. He just breathes deep of the choof, or the choofsh, and wonders at the patterns of blood spatters that the blood spatters make. Hostile species. And psi and psionics, with a short glossary of pronunciation and terminology. Now, one thing people have pointed out is that this book is about 30 pages of information, which isn't terribly long. And it goes for, I think, 15 or 16 bucks if you're getting it in print form. And people have wondered why it's so expensive for a print book. Of course, it's cheaper in PDF. And if you actually look through the book, you can see where the price is coming from. You can see where that money went. The very high production quality, the excellent artwork, the full color design. There's more work put into this in terms of its physical presentation than you see in most of these independently designed books. So you're paying for quality. That's what's going on there. Now, like I said, this does not have any actual system information. If you'd like to play this with old school games, you're going to need to get something like this. So this is a game program for Strange Stars that adapts it to OSR, or old school Renaissance style games. In particular, this focuses on Stars Without Number, which is the most popular science fiction role-playing game that uses the old D&D rule set. Now, I haven't actually read Stars Without Number, although I am fairly familiar with its rules, so bear that in mind. And again, we have excellent artwork all throughout this book. It's not in color like the first one, but the quality of the art is really no less than what you would normally expect, or what you would expect given what we've seen in the previous one. It still has that goofy, slightly tongue-in-cheek style to it. It recaps some of the information from the previous book, but it goes into more detail for game masters actually wanting to run it. For example, types of characters. It goes through each alien species in a lot more detail, showing their physical characteristics, psychological characteristics, names, backgrounds, classes, attributes, and special things about them. We also have a variety of new backgrounds, the types of professions that you might have in this universe, as opposed to what you see in official books like Stars Without Number. Things like bureaucrats, business savants, hackers, journalists, law enforcement, med techs, etc. And we take a look at the technology. Now, the technology level in not Stars Without Number, Strange Stars, is significantly higher than in Stars Without Number. So there is, it's both post-apocalyptic in the sense that the people living here aren't able to reproduce the technology that they find around the galaxy. There's been a kind of a collapse, and yet it's still more advanced than in more hard or more realistic science fiction games. So there's a lot of AIs are very common. There's a Metascape, which is an augmented reality layer laid over everything. There's an internet that everyone can access. There's implanted cyberware. Matter compilers are very common. We go into space travel and how this differs from Stars Without Number, and how to make the jump gates between systems work in your game. We look at game mastering, so the setting assumptions. That's very important for a game master to get their head around exactly what players are going to know and what this setting assumes about science fiction. We have general galactic regions, basically the same regions as laid out in the setting book, but in this case it's laid out more for what a game master would need to know. So something brief about them, what they're good for, and especially the inspiration, so the types of books and movies that inspired that sector of space. So it gives you the genre that you're probably going to need. And it has some random tables, which is always good to see. There's an adventure generator, so you would roll on here for your basic type of adventure, and then look at these subtables to generate the actual thing. For example, if you were rolling on this, you might roll a 4, which is the gauntlet, and then the PCs must get A, B, despite C. So you'd roll on each of these. So the PCs must get a juke band off Deshret in spite of or despite clone assassins. NPCs and adversaries. So here's your monster manual, essentially. All sorts of weird aliens and things you might fight. Because in Stars Without Number, it uses a descending armor class. If you wanted to convert this to ascending armor class, you would take this and subtract it from 20. Quite a wide variety of types of enemies to fight and to encounter. Factions. Stars Without Number is famous for its faction system. It has a small mini game that allows you to, in between sessions, work out how the factions are interacting behind the scenes. So I'm glad to see that this also provides us with factions for Strange Stars. It gives us more details about the worlds that were listed in the setting book, but again, with more concrete information that a game master would need. For example, Boreas, it has tags, the types of enemies that you're going to find there, friends you might encounter, complications, weird things there, and locations there. So if your players just happen to hop to that planet, you'll have something to show them. Habitat generation. In this setting, most of the characters don't live on planets. Since Earth-like planets are fairly rare, they're mostly going to live in space stations of some sort. So we have a generator here to create whatever space habitat you like. You have your basic shape here, and then you would roll on one of the subtables to actually create it. So for example, if you rolled here and it was an asteroid, you could go over to asteroids and find out what type of asteroid it was. Underpopulated hollow cylinder, underpopulated Warren, densely populated Warren, and then you could have more details about it. For example, its tech level, its interior bioclimate, and its urbanization. And that's it for that. So, Strange Stars. It's a unique product in that there aren't a lot of setting books for science fiction, especially in the old school scene, which is mostly fantasy. So it's great to see someone put out something like this, especially something at such a high level of quality. I would say the main downside is that to run it with Stars Without Number, you kind of have to buy both of them. You might be able to get away with just this, since it does have most of the information, but the beautiful pictures and artwork in this are great for showing to players, so they can get a very clear idea of what they're encountering, what they're seeing, and what the feel of the place looks like. So that's it for this review. Please check out Strange Stars. I have put a link down in the comments below where you can check it out for yourself. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe over here. If you want to join me on Patreon and support more videos like this, you can check that out right over here. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.